So what's up, guys? Super pumped, finally coming to life. The UT10 here is getting some Moorehead forward arched arms, front and rear, as well as a set of shocks that my buddy Marshall Mims figured out what works on these. So it'll have a reservoir on the side. Up front here, he's still working on the rear to see what will work. And I'll have a link in the bottom for the arms, the shocks, and his channel as well, where he goes into great detail on the shocks and why they work and how he come up with them working. And we're gonna see how big a tire we can stuff under here with the combination of the two. And so we're gonna get started, start tearing this down. I'll go into detail on everything. Before that, let's get over here and take a look at these Moorehead arms. So we're unboxing the Moorehead arms. Big beefy A-arms here from Moorehead Offroad Engineering. You can get these at teammscparts.com. That's where we got ours. And we're going to reuse the factory ball joints and bushings. This machine doesn't have a lot of miles on it, so I'm hoping we don't run into any issues with that. But they're beefy, they're solid, and it's gonna be awesome. We've been wanting to do this for a while. We also have another big box of accessories, rock lights, whips, an aux beam set up, all kind of stuff here. And we won't get into all that this video. We have a lot more already on it to wire up. But this is all about installing these forward and rear arms on the UT10, and how you can do it in your shop or your garage with you know, regular tools, other than we will be using that press. So let's get started. I'm gonna run over here, get my tools laid out, and pull these tires off. And we'll go into good detail on this side, and then I'll tear the other side down. We'll get these factory arms out of the way and start moving over the bushings and the ball joints, and probably go ahead and snatch these out, and this inner fender for the shock. But you do not need the shocks. This is just something we found, thought it was cool, and then decided to do it at the same time since we're here. We got this box hose kit, and it's got near about everything you'll need on the trail, and it's so easy that I use it in the shop all the time. So your lug nuts are 19 millimeter. Alright, so on your front suspension, of course this is your caliper, rotor, axle nut, and you got a Carter key here, and then this is your tie rod end, sway bar. So to start with, I'm going to pull the sway bar, and then we'll pull the caliper and the caliper brackets, these two here, and we'll get it laid over here out of the way, pull the tie rod, get it moved out of the way, and then tear down this rotor and axle, and then we'll work up into the machine, starting with the upper A-arm, and see if we can get these ball joints out without mangling them. And go from there. Get some pretty black up here from Jake Moorehead and Moorehead Offroad Engineering. So we'll get a few more tools drug out, and I'll let you know. I think everything for the most part is probably going to be around a 15 millimeter, but we'll see what we need. Looks like I was right for the most part. It'll be a 15 millimeter. Pull out some wrenches. And on your tie rod, you can decide whether or not you want to keep it or not. Time being, I think we're going to run it and see how it does. And the more we get into greater obstacles, it'll probably have to go, so it doesn't limit our suspension travel in the front. But if you do a lot of road riding, probably gonna want to keep it. Two 15 millimeter bolts removes the whole brake caliper bracket, but if you were just doing pads, which these pads actually look good, you would just remove these two 12 millimeter bolts, and it'll allow your caliper to come out of the caliper bracket. Couple 10 millimeters to hold that brake line on. And now you'll be able to lay your whole caliper back here out of the way and continue tearing down. We'll straighten the wheel back up and get us a pair of needle nose and get these out. So your tie rod nut is an 18 millimeter. Pull the carter key and remove the nut. Make sure you keep up with it though. Usually you can just give it a couple good whops and it'll come out. There it goes. Segway has a huge axle nut, and I'm gonna guess it's probably a 34 millimeter socket. I had to take it off with a 36 because that's what I had laying here. But anyways, you take that off, this will slide right off. Now when I go back together with it, I'm gonna put some anti-seize in here because we do work on a lot of units, and especially if you mud ride and stuff, grit and mud will get in here and it's really hard to pull. Same with this wheel bearing. Go ahead and remove your shock bolt, and we're gonna go ahead and remove the whole shock because of what we're doing. But if you're not changing shocks, there's no reason to remove it. And there you have your front strut, shock, spring, whatever you want to call it. So now we'll work on getting this, I'll go over there and undo the other nut on this sway bar. That way we can get it out of the way and allow all this stuff to fall down. You don't want to hit it hard and mess your threads up. Few taps. This will make it slide out. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the axle. I'm not going to on the other side, just to show you. While you're here, you might as well remove it. Make sure you dielectric grease this, or anti-seize this, and clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up. If your machine's a little older, it's a good time to change your disc seals if they're leaking. And so we'll pull these we'll pull these A-arms and go ahead and start working on pressing these ball joints out. So there's our lower. And you will reuse all this, so make sure you keep up with it and keep it clean. Bushings. And the bushings still look good. So we're gonna move over. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that one while we're here. And then we'll move over to the press, remove this snap ring, and press this ball joint out and press it into the new arms. You'll have to walk your steering rack to be able to access the bolt to get it to pull all the way out. And there you have your top AR. You got these caps. Then we'll bump out these. I just use this little extension because it fits perfect. Bump it out. So let's get some snap ring pliers. We'll reposition the camera to the press and we'll be going back together with it before you know it. Okay, so I got the ball joints pressed in. And what I did, since we're reusing, I highly recommend just getting them to push your ball joints in. That way you don't have to fight with them. But I took this little hammer here and I just tapped around it until the ball joint come out. And then I flipped it over and got everything lined up and pressed it in on this press. And you may be able to use a ball joint press from your local parts store or something. I haven't had good luck with those, but it was real tedious and aggravating. But we got them in there. Hey, y'all like my Zilla table? Drop a comment. I know I need some tables in here. But they're in. Snap rings are on. We'll flip her over and get our bushings and push those in. And if you've never worked around powder coated parts, so when they powder coat them, sometimes it makes the hole a little bit smaller, and you may have to take like a little file or something and kind of knock the powder coat down just a smidge to get it to start, and then it'll go right in. So we got a complete. We're fitting to put the grease certs in right here and get her mounted on there. And I'll do the same for the upper A-arm, and then we'll get back under the machine. Okay, so it's a tight fit squeeze, and I took an old piece of 2x4 and hit on it with a hammer to get it to slide up in there. Now we're working on getting this bolt hole lined up over here. But you can't. All right, so with a little persuasion of the hammer, a little tap, the bolt slid right in. I'm gonna put the grease fittings on the bottom ones. Hopefully they're not as tough as these tops. There's a lot more room here. So it looks like it's gonna be a lot easier, yes. Don't forget these aggravating dust caps. So we're going in with the bottom arm. Hopefully it's smoother than the top. Oh yeah. Little tapping. This top front corner right here, that's a tight little squeeze. So you may have to kind of put it in your wrench and just work it and get it started. But once you get it started, it'll walk itself right to it. Alright, so we have both new A-arms installed with ball joints. And so next we will put our knuckle back on. Well, next we'll put our axle back in. And then put our knuckle back on. Once you get your axle back in, put you a little bit of anti-seize on the spline so it slides in, and it'll keep it from rusting in the differential. Okay, doing some double checking. I slid this hub on, put you some anti-seize on the splines and slide it on. This is a 22 model. This is the first year of the UT10 when they called them Fugelmans. And there's a little bit of difference. These are 23, 24, 25 UT10 arms. The sway bar is in a different location. It's up here in the front on a 23 through 25. So if you're putting these on a 22, you have no sway bar. That's all there is to it. The 24s and 23s, the sway bar's in the front, it comes down, hooks right into this, which we probably would have took it off anyways because it'll give us a little more travel. And I just wanted to point that out because I've been standing here walking back and forth a few times, making sure I got the arms on the right side, but I have them on the right side. and I got everything loosely fit. And we picked up a set of these. I'll drop a link below to a Marshall Mims. He did a lot of research on shock lengths and rebound and stuff like that, because we were going to go with the rough country shocks. But after talking with Marshall and watching his videos, seeing his spreadsheet, and these were only 250 bucks off of Amazon. They're for a Can-Am Maverick, and they're true reservoir shocks. A buddy has already took a set apart, and I rode with him, and it was really nice. They ride really good compared to factory. And so we picked up a set, and we decided to stuff them in here whenever we were putting these arms on. So I'll talk a little bit about this shock, but he goes in great detail in his video, and he's still figuring out the rears of what crosses. But there's several things that cross from a Can-Am to a UT10, such as ball joints or lower defender ball joints. And so don't be scared of parts availability, is what I'm trying to say, because everything has a crossover usually as far as suspension wise. Now, using these shocks, you will have to run some bushings to take this hole from a 12mm to a 10mm diameter bolt. But like I said, he goes in through great detail, and he has done a great job with researching and finding out what's what. But you just slide them on there, and then it'll slide and take up any slack there, due to they use a bigger bolt. So I'm gonna hang this up in here. And these will be like them dust caps. They'll be aggravating. And I want to say it'll give you like 2 inches of lift. He was running a 2-inch Perfect lift, and he went to these and no longer had to run a 2-inch Perfect lift. Alright, so I've been fighting with this other shock that we was going to try to use, and I don't know if it's because this is a 22 model and there are a few differences, but I could not get it to line up for me. And so we're just going to run the factory shock back on there. So I got everything installed loosely. Everything has to be tight, and we'll put the tie rod back to it, run the brake line back down here, put the caliper back on it, and tighten everything up and look it over good. And we will jump to the other side and see what it looks like with the tire on. So I'm glad to be this far. This is the first one I've done, so I know the next one will be easier and so on. But you can do all this at the house, in your shop. Just takes a little bit of patience. So we'll work on getting everything tightened up and put the tire on, see what it looks like. Alright, so we had some head scratching. Like I said, this is the first one I've done. And I got some stuff figured out. and I mentioned it earlier, but this is a 22 model, and these arms are for a 23 model. And you wouldn't think there'd be that much difference, but there's quite a bit of difference. And Segway is doing really well with improving their machines. And I'll have a video drop between a 2024 Segway Villain, and a 2025 Segway Villain, and they really made some great leaps and bounds forward, and did some great changes. But anyways, you're here for putting arms on a UT10. So we'll pull this arm, and I'll swap this ball joint. I recommend just go ahead and get your ball joints pressed in when you order the arms from Moorehead on teammscparts.com. And one of the big differences right now from the 22 to the 23 through present is the sway bar on the 22 is in the rear, and on 23 it's in the front. And which weren't going to run a sway bar anyways, but if you don't have an option to run it on a 22, the way the sway bar comes in. So that's one thing to keep in mind, which if you're going like this, you're probably not doing a lot of high speed driving, and you won't even notice that it's not there. And then we got those shocks, and on the 23 to present, they bolted right in for Marshall Mims on YouTube. And they're just not doing it for us on this machine. And that'll be another video putting them shocks on. So this one will be just mainly installing your Moorehead forward arms. And I got caught up on the other side, you know, and so this side, I'm fitting to pull this and get my ball joint moved, and we're just gonna go putting arms in, and just putting the stock shock back in, not wasting no time over there on that, and getting everything bolted back up and getting some tires on this. Now I am going to go ahead and remove the sway bar off of this machine, because you can't hook it back up, so there's no reason to have it. So two 18mm up there at the top, and I'll jump back to here whenever I get this this ball joint moved. Luckily it's the last one for the front to move, and depending on how the rest of the video goes, I don't know if I'm going to do the back, but anyways. Alright, so we're going back together with these Moorehead arms, and on the driver's side here, and I'm not going to fool with the shock like I did last time. We're going to put the factory shock back in. And so your top arm, once you get it started, it should wiggle right in. Like so. And make sure you grease it up real good when you get it together. Give it a little tap. Alright, so we got the top in. I'm going to go ahead and put my shock in. Moorehead sends you a new bolt for this. Moorehead bolt that come with the kit. We got that in there. And I like to leave everything loose till the end so that you can tighten it all at once and double check everything. Those little seal dust caps or whatever you want to call them, aggravating. Alright, so we're going in with the bottom. Now this side, I left the axle in the front diff. So that's a step that you don't have to do, is taking the axle out. Alrighty, got that in there. You can wiggle until it goes in. Make sure if you are doing this at home and don't have a lift like I don't, just try to wipe off your hardware best you can so that you ain't fighting no grip. Alrighty. Tap those in. Put your nuts on the back, or on the other end. In this case it would be the front and the back. I'll try to snake this one up here. I have to do like I did the other side. So on the other side, I get a ratchet, put this 8mm bolt in your wrench, and then you can fish it up in here and get it to line up and then get it started. Because it is very tight up in here. That's the top upper A-arm front bolt. Alright, now we'll put the knuckle on, and I always put me a little anti-seize here where the bearing rides, just so whenever you go to take this apart, that it'll come apart and you don't have to bump on it, because the other side was stuck pretty good, and I bumped it and bumped the axle apart, so then I had to fix that. Slide right on there. leave the shock out. Then you can walk this stuff around. So, put your a little bit shorter belt in there. Put your nuts on. And I'm sure we'll have to do some alignment on it with the tie rods, but we will hook them right back up. Alright, now when it comes back to your hub, again, anti-seize these splines because it is a job if these get seized up and you're broke on the trail and all you have is your little Boxos tool set. It's nice for stuff to come apart. And you don't have to beat on everything and try to pry stuff apart. And then we'll snake our brake caliper and bracket back around. Good time to check your brakes, do any other preventive maintenance now. And he actually does give you a spot to bolt this back here. Just like you took it apart, that's the way it goes back together. And so the first things you did, taking it apart will be the last things you do, putting it back together. Got the tie rod in, hooked up. Gonna go ahead and snatch this steering stabilizer out. And tighten everything up, put our Carter keys back in here, tighten our brakes back up, mount these tires. We'll be able to set it on the ground and see what it looks like. I have two options. I got a set of 35 Rockzillas or the factory 26s, 27s, whatever it come with. So of course we're gonna try to mount up the 35s and see what happens. So I'm gonna get this stuff snugged up and I'll jump back on here and see which option we can make fit. So we do have some villain takeoff 30s that we may put on it, but we'll be ordering some 33 carnivores, I'm guessing. And some 5+2 offset, gives us a little bit of offset ground clearance. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be an awesome ride. The shocks, I'm gonna play with them and I'm gonna get them to work, but I want to see, maybe get all this shook out and see what happens, you know, and make them work. They do have a lot of adjustment, so, but we'll get this stuff tightened up and jump back on here whenever we get her ready to put some tires on. Okay, so everything's tightened up. What's awesome is even the bolt they send you is the same, 15mm hardware. So we got this tight, new Carter key, the brakes are back on, all that snugged up. but that up in there is the nut. That's a pain in the butt. And we're gonna do away with this. See, on most people's, it would come right up in here and go across and would tie into this mount there. And I gotta tighten up my brake line. But this is the OG, I guess, first year. And so things are always different, but we made it work, and we're gonna make them shocks work. But for the time being, this is where we're at. I'll get some tires on here and jump back on here and we can see what it looks like. It's exciting. All right, so we got everything bolted, tightened, and we'll do a shakedown run and go over everything again. He says 32s. I've had these sitting around, so we're just gonna mount them up on here. Let me get some lug nuts and just see how bad or what else we need to do. Definitely have to have different offset wheels, looks like. Yeah, it's all up in that shock. $35 on the UT10. What a flippin' beast. This tire's about flat. Alright, so we installed these Moorehead arms on the front of this UT10, and it is a 22 model. Now these are 35-inch tires. That one is flat a little bit. 35s, and I'm gonna get in there. Tell me in the comments if it hits right here. Holy smoke! It does hit. Like I said, the kit calls for a 32. I had these laying around. Thought it'd be cool to stick them on here, and apparently I need to arrow the other one up, but you can make 35s work, I feel like, with turning the shocks up, or we're gonna make them other shocks work, and I think with that, that'll give me just what I need to make the 35s fit. But if you run low, super low air pressure, I mean, they would fit. Now crawling, they may not fit. So this is installing Moorehead Offroad forward arched A-arms on a UT10. You won't have as many issues as I did with it being a 23 and up model, but a 22 you will run into a few little things like the sway bar, and that's the major difference. But they're sweet, and as you can see, you can run a massive tire, especially with a little bit of tweaking. I think we can make these 35s fit, and it was sure enough to be a beast. But drop a comment of what you think about the Moorehead arms, and definitely go to teammscparts.com, get you a set of these arms, because it will give you some major ground clearance and allow you to go from a 27 to a 33. I know it'll clear a 33 with no problem. The kit says 32, so if you want to be super safe that you don't ever rub, go with a 32. But that's still 5 inches more tire than what come on the machine. And they're super beefy compared to factory and what we took off. So I'm gonna back out, get some pictures of this thing. Check us out, the rest of the videos. We got a lot of Segway stuff coming. I have a new 2025 villain that we will be doing a lot of trail riding with, and this will be right behind us. That's the main reason for doing this arms and the Team MSC tune, is so the UT10 or the 22 Fugleman will be able to keep up with the two 1000 villains. But hit a thumbs up on the video, subscribe, it's free. It really helps me out with being able to get parts to make these videos. I can't thank Main Street Cycle enough for supplying the arms for this UT10. And yeah, I'm gonna go ride it around a little bit and take some pictures of 35s in the front, 27s in the back. Got that squat going. So thanks for watching, and drop a comment if there's something that I should have done better or showed more of. Like I said, this is the first one, so I know every one I do after this will be a lot easier. Subscribe and follow along.